So we'll call the meeting to order. I can't see what time it is.
It is 6:10 p.m.
6:10 p.m.
6.
Okay, blame me.
6:08.
Okay.
That's what my
Additions or deletions to the agenda? Do we have any? Hearing none, members of the public. I see Dana and I see Laurie. And I think that's it.
Hi, it's Dana. I think I missed it last week. I just wanted to follow up on the status of the longevity bonus.
Yeah, that is with the legal counsel and they're working on it.
Thank you, sir.
We didn't make a motion on that, did we?
Yeah,
Oh, hang on a
I thought
second.
we passed it.
Yeah, hang on a second. I may have not been.
Come on.
Let me just look at the minutes real quick. Kate Rideout made a motion to authorize the chair to sign a memorandum of understanding for the longevity bonus. Mike seconded and motion passed unanimously, so the board signed. Now it's the other parties have to sign. Dana.
Perfect. Great.
Okay.
So, great. Thanks so much.
Okay. Laurie? Is that Laurie from Dover or is that a different Laurie?
That's our Laurie.
That's our
Hello,
Laurie.
Laurie.
Laurie's here for
That's
the
our
budget.
Laurie.
Oh, for Laurie, the budget. I'm sorry, Laurie. I didn't know it was you. But I think that's it, right? There's no other public? Nope. Members of the staff, I know what Laurie and Greg are here for. So, is there anything, any staff I'm missing? Laura Sevilia's here, right?
Yep.
Okay. Budget review, second look at draft budget. So, go ahead, Laurie.
Okay, I don't have any other documents for you, so it's really just to review what we looked at last time we were together, and just maybe give an update. I think maybe Bob has the most recent update on what the legislators might do, might not do, and how that affects putting, we were going to potentially ask the voters for additional money for the roof project or for the Capitol, really. And so it may have some effect on that. Did anybody have, after further review of the line item budget or any of the documents that I supplied last time, did anybody have any further questions?
Silent as crickets.
I do.
Oh, great. What you got?
So if we assume, not looking at the capital items that we were talking about, capital budget items, but if we look at our regular budget and we wanted to, and I know we deal with tax rates afterwards, Rich, so don't tell me we deal with tax rates afterwards. If we wanted to cut $200,000, $500,000 out of our budget, where could we cut that? And what would that mean typically on our tax rates?
Okay. Good questions. Let me just pull up my working document so I can plug in some numbers.
So, Laurie, while you're doing that, and Laura, just because you answered your own question, I think we should talk about what it does to the budget first, what it looks like.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because
That's
again,
fine.
until Laura and her buddies up north kind of figure out what they're doing, we really don't know exactly what it's going to do to a tax rate. We're just guessing.
We don't, because it really is hinging upon this cap, right? So, I mean, to take out, well, you said 200,000 or $500,000. So
Let's go with $500,000.
okay.
So what's that?
So that's, more than 5 positions, basically. So that's where the bulk of the money would need to come from, is cutting some sort of staff. I mean, some of it could come from building ops, and trying to think of where else. I mean, you can't really take it out of tuition, right, for the secondary students. So it really would affect the elementaries staffing the most. if we took $500,000 out of the budget, that would give you a reduction of expenses of, it would make your expenses negative 2.87% year over year. So it would reduce the budget there. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I might not have enough zeros in there.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, I did. Okay, so that's where it would be for expenses. It would drop the ed spending to just over 1.25% up from the year prior because of the reduction in offsetting revenue. That wouldn't change. And it would drop your tax rate, not talking about CLA or anything else, but the potential unified tax rate, it would drop it down under the cap to $1.48. The cap, remember, was $1.54, which would be a 2-cent increase over previous year's unified tax rate.
So a $500,000 cut would be a 2-cent increase. Actually, let's not get into the weeds on that with the tax rate at this point, because unless you're certain of that. And we probably should not do that because people are going to come back to this. So we should really qualify that. The exercise that I'm asking for is to help us understand where we can cut, where we cannot cut, and what sizable cuts would look like. And I just want to push on the 5 positions, Laurie, for that $500,000. When we look at benefits, it's still 5 positions.
Yeah, I mean, we're up to about $90,000 for a teaching position.
Okay.
That's like an average. Some are more or less depending on benefits, but that's sort of the round ball number that I use. So yeah, but really you're looking at 5 positions of teaching positions. It would be more if you did, para or food staff or any other staffing in the building.
And what if we insisted that you cut secondary so that we protected what we have control over, which is in the buildings? Where could you cut on secondary?
So secondary is always tricky because it's, we're predicting a year and a half in advance of where students are actually going to go to school, right? So I would say you could cut $500,000, and what would happen in the end is you would deficit spend if the number of students still came, or still were. You would still have to pay that tuition, so that would come out of your operational reserve.
Okay. Thanks, Laurie. That's all I've got for now. Thanks, Rich.
Yep. Go ahead, Dwayne.
I just have a question too. Thanks, Laurie. So I see the budget increase of 4.78%. Do you know how that compares to other school districts in the state in terms of an increase?
Or Wyndham Central.
What's that?
Or Wyndham Central.
Or Wyndham Central? Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems pretty good to me, by the way. So, but I don't know if that's true or not.
It's not bad at all. Definitely, I think where I can compare more to around the state is in the ed spending number, because that's the number we're hearing. What in the December 1st letter, the average was 12%. You're at 9.47%. Now we're hearing it's upwards of 17% of education spending, which is why the problem has arisen with the ed fund. So in comparative to 17%, this is great, phenomenal, right? As far as kind of comparing Wyndham Central's super hard to compare because we have a non-operating district that actually has a reduction, a large reduction, Stratton, this year in their students. So therefore, their budget is, I'd have to pull it up, but it's a large reduction. We have a large increase, 50% ed spending in Wyndham, because they're trying to add things to their budget to make sure that they're, basically competing with other elementary schools. So they're have increased their budget. West River's still out. We just don't know yet where that one's going to pull in. And Marlboro was flat, just about. Their ed spending, their expenditures were flat, basically. Their ed spending was up, but less than 9%. So we're kind of all over the board. I mean, I want to say, without looking, Stratton was like a negative 30% ed spending to a 53% increase in ed spending in Wyndham. So we're running the gamut here in Wyndham Central this year.
Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, obviously, you're not comparing apples to apples with Stratton because they're solely, they don't have a school. So they're solely
Right.
based on the number of students, so that wouldn't be a good comparison. But thank you for that.
Yeah. But really, like I said, what I'm hearing is 17% ed spending. With this budget right now, without adding anything to it, 9.47.
Okay.
If we added the capital needs that we talked about before, then your ed spending is up to 20%. So now you're over that 17%. If that gives you it gives you a comparison of where you could be if you decided to add.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You good? Mike, Chad, you all set? Chad's up there, right?
I'm good, yeah, for now.
Okay. So since Laura broached it a little bit, but I want people to be careful about tax rates, because if you recall, a few years ago, and Laurie, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but we were looking at a huge tax increase, and everybody was up in arms, and we had our annual meeting in May, and we actually came in right about where we had been the year before, because again, we don't know what's going to happen until it happens. And, again, if Laurie could predict the future, she sure wouldn't be here, and neither would I, because I'd be riding her coattails. So, again, that's why we kind of concentrate on the operational budget. And I think, Laura, that's a good question, because I remember Dick Collin used to ask that every year. What if we cut $100,000 out of the budget? And it was a little more easier back then because it was not effective. Our tax rate was set within the town. So I do think it's a good idea, but teachers' salaries in the elementary schools, Laurie, account for what percentage of the total elementary budget? And you used to have a little breakdown, but I mean, it's like 60%, isn't it, or a little better?
Yeah, it's usually up around between 70 and 80, depending on the district. But yeah, and I can get those numbers together for you if you'd like. But that's really salary and benefits are the largest portion of most any budget. Now, River Valley's is a little bit different because you have the tuition students, right? So you have a large percentage in tuition and in salary and benefits.
No, I was just looking at elementary side, because you used to break it down. And then tuition, again, the problem with tuition is we don't set tuition rates. We can't say we're only going to pay. And really in secondary, other than tuition, it's really the transportation is almost minimal in comparison. So again, there's not a whole lot we control unless we want to make some huge cuts. We can close a building, we can stop transporting students. I will tell you, if you ever mess with transportation, you're going to see a lot of parents out. The biggest meetings I've ever chaired was, get rid of the ski program, get rid of transportation, and put a cell tower on the property. Nothing that needs to do with education. So I think we really, the voters just have to know that, again, one of the things you also showed, Laurie, is even if we make huge cuts, if we cut the budget in half, it doesn't mean that the tax rate goes in half either, and that's what makes it another difficult portion of selling a budget.
Right, and we just don't know what the yield is going to do. I did find some interesting, something that actually I sort of knew in the back of my head, but it through the testimonies came up that the yield is lower. It was at like 15, almost 16,000 last year, and it's at 91 $100 this year. Part of that's because of the weights, right? They had to adjust for having more weights, but also that over the past 2 years, the Ed Fund saw a huge surplus because of online shopping, the sales tax, and all of that. And the law states that the Ed Fund, if it has a surplus beyond what they have to keep for reserves, it has to go back to the taxpayer. So they used that surplus, and that's why the yield got so high. And so now it's like that's another piece of the puzzle. It's not just the weights. It's also the fact that it's just like when you reduce your tax rate by using your surplus, right? When that surplus is gone, now that tax rate's going to go way up.
Or your yield goes down.
Yes, right. So I thought that was interesting to remind everybody is that over the past 2 years, the yield was artificially high because of the surpluses in the Ed Fund from mainly from the sales taxes, at least what they told us. So just to kind of keep that in mind, it's like everything's hitting this year. So
The perfect storm. Okay.
Seems like it.
So is everybody good with, remember, we're just discussing operational budget for right now. Is there anything else that anybody has any questions on for Laurie on operational? Cool, Laurie, I think we're good.
Okay, I'm going to stay on for Greg and the roof conversation. So
Okay, let's skip to that so you guys don't have to stay too long. Well, I don't see Greg in a roof conversation, I'm sorry. Somebody help
I
me.
think the last time you asked for him to be on and you wanted to talk to him about engineers or something maybe. I don't remember.
No, I thought he was here for the electric bus update.
Oh, well, maybe that too.
I'm here for whatever you want me here for, Rich.
Okay, we need to cut 500,000 out of the operating budget. Go for it.
We could start with selling off that electric bus
Well,
once
that's
we get it.
just in terms of how we're gonna fund it, but is that for today's meeting?
Well, no, that's under the.
Under the
That's on the
on the articles. Okay.
on the articles.
Yeah, okay. We can discuss it then, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I did not know, Greg. But let's go follow the agenda then. The next thing is first look at the warning for the district meeting. So I think I got the dates right, and locations and times right. So we'll have the voting on the day before, on the Monday, and then we need to show up at 6, even though the meeting's at 7, because we have to help count votes. And that'll be done in Dover this year. Last year it was done in Wardsboro. And then Article 13 is the ballot for the election of board members. And I believe it'll probably stay there because I don't think we'll add or subtract any articles, but that'll vary. So Article 1 is always to elect a moderator. Last year we elected a temporary moderator, and then we went to at the end of the meeting we elected a full the real moderator, or the moderator for the rest of the year, because we weren't sure. The moderator who was elected the previous year chose not to serve, and they didn't tell us that till around mid-February. Article 2 is to elect a clerk and to set the stipend and the stipend for the assistant. Article 3 is to elect a treasurer, and those are from the floor. Those are floor votes. Article 4 is to set the stipend for school directors. I left it at what it was last year. Article 5 is the voters to approve mileage, which has been a pretty standard article. Article 6 is authorize surplus to be moved into to fund to be reserved for future use as approved by the voters. Article 7 is the Burton tuition, which is, Laurie sent it to me, it's like 20,000, 20, I'm sorry, I have a separate one, $20,000?
20,766, I think.
966, I think.
966, okay.
Okay, that's what I had, thank you. And then shall the voters approve the school board to expend, and that's our operating budget, so whatever that number is. So once we vote to approve the budget, then we'll insert that number. This is, there's a couple that they're highlighted, and I don't know if it came out as highlighted. So Article 9 to fund its reserve funds, the following amounts, and it's got to be, that is wrong too, 24, 25
Missed that one.
school year. And then I had and then it's, last year we did a transfer from the general reserve fund of 100,000 and 50,000. So once we get a little further in the budget process, probably the next meeting, we'll have to come up with real numbers for that. And Article 10 is just a total guess. Laura, you should listen to this one because this was kind of what you had asked for. Is shall the voters of the River Valley Unified School District approve an operational expense of blank dollars to specifically catch up on capital projects for both buildings, including replacement of the roofs on the Dover building? And that's, Greg had, gotten us ballpark number of 5 something. I think, Laurie, you were using, but again, I don't know what number we really want to put in there. So I guess that would be that article that would get some discussion. And also by having our meeting at the end of April, we'll have a better clue what's going on with percentages so we can advise voters. And then Article 11 is the one we've always done with the withdraw money from the reserve to offset the homestead tax rate. And again, I think when we get closer, we can look at that. And even if we put a number in there, we may want to change it may ask for an amendment at the meeting. And then Article 12 is the any other business, and I put website update, but I don't know if we really need to do that because it should be up and operational, but that's up to you all to tell me. And then Article 13 is the ballot voting, which is pretty easy because we don't have to do anything. And then Article 14 is adjournment. So
Question.
go, Laura, wherever you are.
Laurie, can you tell me what the, so I know you have the burden rate. What is the rate that we're actually required to pay?
Are you talking about the average?
Well,
The
Laurie,
rate we're required to pay for private schools.
do the statewide average and how much Leland and Gray, Brattleboro,
Yep.
and Twin Valley. I think we need those numbers, but that's usually not in the agenda. That's usually a something we discuss in the meeting. So, do you have Leland
No,
and Gray?
I'm not asking her to put that in the warning.
No, I know.
I'm asking
What they are.
that number is.
Yes.
Sure. Well, I don't know that I have. Let me just see if that came out yet. I'm not sure that the after everybody reports in, then they send us let me just see if I have that. I don't know that I do yet. Preliminary, it's preliminary, but we can look at it. Oh, and it's scratched out. I don't know why. So they do not have the average yet. The averaged announced tuition. They have a draft form that just makes sure, we had to check to make sure that all of ours got in there, but they don't have the average.
Okay, and just for the watchers at home, we elect every year to pay more than we have to on secondary tuition. Or we vote. We put that up for a vote every year.
Yeah, that's what the
One of
law the law
one of the
states.
discretionary.
Yeah, the law states that you pay the statewide average tuition or the public high school tuition to any public high school in the state of Vermont. So if somebody wants to go to Burlington, we'll pay the Burlington rate, or an amount authorized by the electorate at an annual or special meeting.
Right.
And we were
And so-
both towns were petitioned before we combined to have different rates, and we agreed that we would put that on as an article for discussion every year.
Yep, and so here we are discussing it. I'm not asking to have it taken off. But just noting, back to the questions that I had asked Laurie before about where we have the ability in our town to affect our budget It's really only in our building and in discretionary secondary spending, which is this line here. So thank you.
So, Laurie, do you have Leland and Gray and Twin Valley and Brat easily? Don't.
That's all here, Rich, on the budget.
Yeah, it's right there.
Oh, these are them. Okay, thank you.
I was looking, I'll look up last year's, statewide average.
No, it's about $101 less.
Last year,
It's not.
this would be this year, 966, there it is.
Yeah. So just so people know, Leland and Gray is so the statewide or Burn's asking for 2966. Brattleboro is middle school and high school is 18.3. Twin Valley is 18,720. Leland and Gray is 20,865.
And Richard,
Yeah.
excuse me, just double checking, we have no control over that number, just the amount that we elect to pay the private schools.
Well, again, we do kind of have control if you want to go that route because we can align with the school or we could just go to one school. But again, that's nothing, none of this we can do. This is the voters do this. It's not in our bailiwick to determine what the tuition is going to be.
That's fine. That's fine. Thanks, Rich.
Yeah. But we definitely, Laurie, when you get that statewide average too, if you could get that for us, because that's always something that people do want to know.
Yes, I will definitely get it for you when it comes out. Just to give you some comparison, last year's statewide average was 18,266. So if you add 4% to that, because we're seeing that's, around what we're seeing, you got basically $19,000. So the difference between 19,000 and the 20,966, is it? 966 is what Laura is talking about. Correct, Laura?
That's right. Thanks, Laurie.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think on the agenda for the annual meeting, is everybody okay with that? Are there any, except for the few little clerical errors and then whatever we find, you guys are all set?
Pretty straightforward.
Looks solid, thank you.
Chad and Laura, you okay with it?
I'm good.
When will we discuss the numbers, like the different amounts and some of the different?
We'll have to discuss that.
As long as
when
we're putting all of the extras in those special line items, yes.
Right.
Yeah, so I think what we need to do then is, Greg, I don't know if this is kind of off the cuff, but can you kind of go, or Laurie, maybe can you and Greg for the next meeting put together what you're proposing to expend next year in capital, what including, and then have the roof as a separate item, and then how much we would have to fund those amounts, how much are we gonna have to fund the transportation, and how much we're gonna have to fund building to kind of keep us on track?
Yeah, I think we've got that.
Yeah, but we
In our,
haven't warned it, so I don't wanna.
Right.
yeah, we can bring it back next meeting, but that was in the information I gave you last time too. So
Right, but that also was putting in $500,000 to take advantage of the cap too.
yes, but we moved the roof to fiscal year 25 because of the issues with the repairs just becoming astronomical in cost.
Yeah.
So we did move it up. So right now, just the capital budget, you're looking at $730,000 for fiscal year 25.
Right.
The roof was $545,000 of that.
But we can also, if we decide to go that route too, we don't have to fund it all in 1 year. We can do a bond, or we can pay for it over a few years if we need to even out the tax rate, because that's a pretty big nut.
Right. Yep.
And
That's
that
what I would
was
suggest.
that was way off. I think there was like 200 and something in the plan, and it's more than doubled.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said in the email, guys, yeah, I mean, 99% of the numbers in those original CNAs, what CNAs never accounted for was COVID and what COVID has done to things. And, between COVID and just the rise in urethane-based products, which generally rubber roofs are, it's just driven things like that out of control. So I would say, unfortunately, that 550 number is the whole roof too. So if you look at the CNA, they had 250. The 200 and change was just for the Sardinafil PVC section. I think they had another 135 for the PVC or for the EPDM, the rubber roof. So you think about that, even there, they still did have that at like 330 total. And so that 550 number is the whole roof. So it's not as exorbitant as, or as it probably feels.
So do we
Just a
need to
little
replace the metal roof like on the side of the gym I thought all we had to do was the flat roofs, the membrane roofs.
That's all I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, so your flat roofs are two different products right now. You have the PVC and some EPDM. The EPDM, we've been running into a lot of seam repair and whatnot, and the rubber is holding up okay. The PVC is actually, the gentleman from Bratt Roofing explained to us, it's out in the middle of it. It's just cracking. It's just cracking open, and they're having to, do repairs, and they're not anything that we would ever see coming. It's just kind of you guys have a unique weather patterns up there in Dover and Wardsboro, and I don't know that 25 years ago anybody foresaw that with PVC. So.
So what's on the addition and what's on the original building?
That's a good question. I haven't been up there to really
one is
those.
I think one is the PVC and one is the rubber, the membrane, right?
I think you're right. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I have a feeling. Guessing, right? Was your addition larger than your original?
No, they're pretty much the same without the gym, and without the gym and without the kindergarten room. It was almost a mirror image of what had been there for the main building where the classrooms are.
Oh, that's a good. I'd love to get there and take a look at it. Maybe their number was higher because they were initially the number was higher for the two because they were thinking you'd replace with PVC again. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think let's just should we maybe get I hate to ask people to give bids if we're not going to try to do it this year, but I wonder if we could check with another company just to see. And I think because there's 4 roof sections that we found when we did them last time. There was the addition, which was done. Then when Act 60 came in, we did the rest of the roofs, but we only did the top of the gym. We only did, I believe, over the classrooms, and I can't remember if we did the kindergarten area or not. So can we just find out, what all that includes in his 525 bid? And
that 525 number is just what came from the state's facilities conditions assessment. That's where that number came from.
Oh, I thought you said you'd gotten a price from somebody.
No, I had asked Dan Young from Bratt Roofing to give us at least like a rough estimate, and he sent me a bunch of pictures and an explanation of what was going on, and they still have not gotten me an actual number. No, we pulled that from the state's facilities conditions assessment.
Okay, well, I think then that's, at best an estimate, a rough estimate.
Yes.
Can you see if we can get a budgeting number from a company that can actually do the work?
Absolutely, not a problem.
Is everybody on the board okay with that?
Yeah, but will we have it prior?
Well, I hope fairly soon. It shouldn't be that hard because they've got the measurements.
Okay.
Now they all use their little Eagle View thing and they can bang that out.
Okay.
Greg, see what you can do for us for the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay. And again, it doesn't have to be an exact. We don't want to put somebody at a disadvantage by saying, what would you bid to do the roof, so that everybody else just bids $100 less. But if just let them know we need a
just like a budgetary quote of roughly.
Please, Laura and Chad, are you good with that?
Chad's got his hand up as well.
Well, it definitely had some. I raised my hand, Rich, because I had some questions. I pulled an aerial view of the Dover school to have a look. You can see the color difference from one section to the other. As Greg mentioned, a lot of things we didn't foresee. I'd love to ask Greg, sort of with the style of roofing that we have, what is the average shelf life of that, between repairs? And before you answer, Greg, the reason I ask is that if we're going through all this, does it make this, Rich, you brought up if there's a bond issue that's needed, it seems like the walls and the way the school is laid out is pretty fantastic. But if this roof is an issue, does it make sense to tear the whole thing off and do something, that sounds dramatic, but look into a more pitched roof rather than the flat, so we don't have to have a snowblower up there that's been discussed in the past, that we could actually add solar panels that feed solely the school and are 100% owned. Right now we recoup the benefit of a discount and the rent to the company that owns the solar field. These are things that are certainly beyond my scope. I'm an idea guy, but Greg, does that make sense? What I'm asking?
Yeah, it always makes sense. One of the things I've talked about off the cuff with people as well is even if you redo the rubber. If you're going to take the rubber up, this is the time to know how much R value you have there, and you'd want to know that. I know any time, so you might want to add a couple of inches as well. But all your pitched pieces are there, so you could reuse them all. You're going to have to budget for probably, I would guess, 20% of your insulation to be replaced. In previous quotes I've done on these, they say that if the insulation has been wet, that it's supposed to be replaced. And so, yeah, there's a lot of, there are a lot of variables there, and there are definitely firms out there that could come in and kind of do it as like an efficiency upgrade, right? Where they're saying, hey, if you do this and then add X amount of insulation, you can expect to see savings in heating costs and you know what I mean? And then, like you said, then it also opens the door for, obviously you're going to be talking about some pretty large trusses, so you'd have some pretty long spans there if you wanted to do something like solar on it. So it opens options. And then the catch-22 of it is that it slows the progress. But that would be up to the board as a kind of, you guys to think about how you want to move forward. I'm happy to support you however you want to move forward. Because I do think, when we talk about an investment this big, I would want to know that, we want to know that you guys are all on board and we're all moving in the same direction. So I don't know if I actually answered your question, but.
Oh, you definitely did. I think, just to be add a little bit of specifics to it. Can you comment on the longevity of, the general anticipated longevity of the type of roof we have now versus possibly doing something different?
Prior to Wyndham Central, I had never heard of PVC roofing. Rubber is generally a 20 to 25 year lifespan, which you're right about that. So for the EPDM.
And generally speaking, metal, if we could do that with a massive truss, were we looking at 30 to 50?
That always depends. Yeah, that all depends on what you put on there, right? I don't know what these days what the warranty is that comes with something like a standing seam, but
So,
and then
Jack,
it would present the issues of snow runoff too. You'd have to manage that. That's a lot of snow on that much of a pitch. That would be coming off. So
when we did the roof, we were told that it was about a 20 to 25 year roof for the new roof, and we were told the existing roof on the addition was a 20 to 25 year roof. So it's definitely lived its life. There is some new membrane products that they'll warranty from 30 to 40 years out. Metal, you can get a 50-year warranty, but again, the warranty is, if it's a 50-year warranty, after year 25, they're only going to replace half of it, half the value. They're not going to replace the whole roof, and that's one of the fallacies about warranty. If they say it's a 25-year warranty, in year 24 you don't get a whole new roof, you get whatever that percentage is, and they usually fight you pretty hard because they blame you on install. So it's important that we get certified installers. So there's a lot to it. I know we did the insulation when in the 80s. In the 90s when we did that roof, we added a bunch of insulation. I think it's all rigid insulation, so I think it can get wet. But again, I don't know if we add more. Solar does add a whole different aspect to it too. So, I don't know, what does the board want to do? Do we want to, take on a big roof project? Because it's more than Greg's going to be able to do. We're going to have to get some help. We're going to have to get an engineer. We did look into doing a pitched roof when they built the addition, and when again, I don't know why you build a flat roof. Rod Williams designed the original building, and they want to kind of match the building. A lot of people thought it was time to go for a pitched roof, but Greg brings up some good points. When you pitch the roof, you're going to have 150 feet of run, and you're going to have all that extra snow dumping. The only way you can pitch it is towards the parking or towards the road or towards the backyard. And again, that creates a whole bunch of other issues. I think the recommendation was at the time they did the addition was that the flat roof for a building of that style is not that bad, and the roof products were better than they were in the 70s. So how do you all want to, I think let's do this. Greg, can you just look into what an engineer would charge us to come in and do a survey to see exactly how much insulation we have, what their recommendation is, to see if there's a possibility of doing a pitched roof? Can we get some more money from Efficiency Vermont if we add more insulation? Or, I know after a while you max that out, and I know they're also not giving as much money. So if you can maybe come back, and then we will, Kate, can we just make a note? We'll add that. We'll have a roof discussion at the next meeting.
Richard,
That sounds great.
Okay, go ahead, Laura. She
so
doesn't raise her hand.
this is making me think $500,000 is a pretty significant investment. Chad is talking about something significantly more, and I wonder if we should be having a conversation with the voters about whether or not they want to maintain and repair two buildings, or if they would like us to look at the potential of building something new for the two towns.
And I think
Just to throw something provocative on the table.
Yeah, and I think we kind of have that because we did put in, to spend, to raise more money. I forget what article it was, to raise more money for, deferred maintenance items, and deferred and the roof at the Dover building.
Article 10.
Yeah, so we are bringing it to the voters.
Well, that's two of the three things that I said, Rich, and so I guess I'm wondering.
That could be a discussion if the voters want to, cross that bridge. They can bring that up, and they can vote down to do the roof, and they can tell us to, just like years ago when the Dover School Board brought forth 2 more portable classrooms, and the voters said, no, we want you to do the addition, and they gave money to do an addition. So, and again, let's get some numbers from Chad, from Greg. We're gonna have him at the next meeting. I'm sorry,
Richard. I think you're missing my point.
Okay.
So we're talking about 2 specific items that the board would like to put in front of the voters. And I think my question is, should the board have a discussion about checking in with the voters on where they are around 2 different buildings and maintaining them? I certainly am aware that the voters can come and ask us to do anything that they'd like. My question is more around whether or not the board thinks that that is a discussion that we might want to ask the voters about. Certainly it would not be one that would be well defined. It would be a question of, is this something you want us to look at? And the answer might be, absolutely not. Or it might be, yes, we'd like you to come back and tell us more about if it's even possible in a way that would be fair to the towns. So I'm asking if the board is interested in bringing that to the voters as a discussion item. Thanks.
Okay. Is everybody good with that? Understand what she's asking?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, not to throw another wrench into this, but it's my understanding, and Laura, maybe you can help us with this as well. It's my understanding that the state is hearing a lot from districts about the condition of buildings, and there are a lot of them that need a lot of attention and a lot of money. I don't think we should sit around and wait until we get handed cash from Montpelier, but I'm just wondering, before we ask the electorate for money, if we should consider if that is a possibility, because I would hate to get money and then get it twice, but maybe that's not so bad. But anyhow, is that something that we have any more information? Does anyone, I haven't really heard anything further about that, but Laura, do you know anything about that, or Greg or Laurie?
I'm guessing that, is Bob still here? Bob probably has the latest. I know there's a task force if you're asking about building funding. That would be. Yeah,
that's.
Is that what you're asking? Yeah.
Yes.
I could jump in, Rich. What I've heard, sort of scuttlebutt, is that if there is going to be money available, that there will be sort of a process that would include the level of need by building or by district, as well as how far along, thoughtful planning has gone. So if a district had a particular plan ready that they wanted to use to spend the money on, that would be more favorable than just sort of like, we don't know what to do, but we need some money. So having a plan to kind of work towards is a good thing. And then the second piece I'm hearing as well is that that they're favoring. The tendency would be to favor opportunities if it's a new construction that it would involve consolidation of existing buildings. So rather than renovating two separates or updating two separates that both need repair, then consolidating and having one as a new construction. So that's sort of the scuttlebutt right now that I'm hearing about that, but there's nothing formal yet out of all that.
So Greg, I know we just had a meeting and we just approved the new numbers because they hadn't been updated for like 10 years. Can you just take those numbers, which has new construction including groundwork and sewage and all that other happy stuff, and can you just kind of throw together what we would be looking at as a rough number if we were to try to build a new building without any land acquisition? Just, if we built a building big enough to house all the students that we have in both buildings, plus whatever, because they recommend so many square feet. And can you just kind of throw a rough number for us so when we have our roof discussion next meeting, we can hit that too?
Yeah, sure. I know that right now, I think that we were hearing recently when we did the meeting for the FCAs that they're estimating it over $500 a square foot for new construction.
Well, I know we had a meeting with a couple people from the state who are in facilities management, and then the state board voted on numbers because even though they're not giving out money, it was how they figure in if we've gone over budget or under budget or over the caps and stuff. And I know that just all got recently updated, and was some. They talked to a bunch of architects and engineers who had done design work and built buildings, school buildings. So I think it would give us a rough number.
Absolutely, will do.
Cool. Is that?
Thank you.
Is everybody on the board okay with that? You good?
Chad's good.
Go ahead, Chad.
Thanks, Rich. I just wanted to be clear. What brought this thought up for me was seeing the list in the documents that Laurie provided as far as the items that needed to be addressed at the Dover School. So in addition to the roof, there were elements of the roof, skylights, windows, I guess some of the water damage, from these leaks may have damaged some of the cabinets and things like that. So it's really a holistic approach to, not tearing it down because it's not working as well as we thought, but making it the best we can. And if we're going to address these little bits here and there, that really they're going to be best put together in one fell swoop, rather than, fixing the roof and then cutting it open again to fix the skylight. And then, putting in, new cabinets, new whatever we might need inside the classrooms to make them as functional as they really should be for our student body. That's what doesn't make sense to me. And then also, looking ahead, it's easy to talk about $500,000. It is not chump change by any means, but, we really need to have the foresight. Before we ask the voters, should we even discuss this? Our job as a conduit between, the school and the voters and vice versa is to bring some of these, ideas ahead of time and say, this is what we're discussing and here are the avenues that we have. not just which way do you think we should go. Because if that's the case, then this body really isn't even necessary.
Okay. Everybody good on this? Thank you. So, Greg, we're not meeting until the end of February, the last Monday, so you got some time to.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, there's it. Sounds good.
Okay, so hang on one second. I'm really sorry. I
No problem.
forgot. If you remember last week, we had somebody online that we couldn't get to unmute, and she's in our upper right-hand screen. So I found out that she's our reporter now from the Deerfield Valley News. So I'd just like to welcome you and say thank you very much. And I didn't know if you were public or last time, and we didn't get to hear you, but we appreciate the coverage again, and it was a nice article you wrote for us. Thank you. It's nice to get that out in other areas too, in other ways. So we appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome, and I was glad to see an article in the paper as well. That's really great.
Yeah. Not just when we do something wrong. Hey, Greg, for the last thing, there's no update on PCB, is there?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
I can give you the update. So we had one day there early this Martin Luther King Day. We did another full day of sampling. The only thing that's left is to do areas that have asbestos flooring over them. And if you disturb more than 3 square feet, you know the drill, right? Yeah, it has to have an asbestos company. So they're still working out. It's been very difficult to coordinate and get all the people between Monsanto, Fuss and O'Neill, and Catamount in the same building and in the same conversation. But you have about a day's worth of sampling left there. The fear initially that some of the stuff they've gotten back is that you're going to run into the same issue that Wardsboro did, that they think it's in the mastic, which then that will mean you have to do another round of testing where you come back, you have to clean the glue off and then drill into the concrete because apparently PCBs will leach into concrete. And so then you need to see how deep they've gotten. So I really had hoped that we would be much further along in this process. The state is completely overwhelmed, and they're not even accepting new work plans to finish other schools. So like we've tried to push Newbrook and Townsend and Wyndham along, and they're not even accepting work plans for those. They're so overwhelmed. So I'm pushing. I probably send at least one weekly email requesting information on yours and Marlboro as well. Marlboro, I think, is tentatively scheduled for February break. I'm hoping to be able to loop your last day of initial testing, or the sampling testing to be done that same time. It's just a matter of getting people to respond. So it's been a struggle.
Thank you, sir. And then you've got her scheduled for the radon testing.
Yep, they said that everyone will be done by the end of March. So we have the first few buildings actually starts tomorrow at 10 is Dutton, Townsend, and Leland and Gray, just because they're all right next to each other. And they said I'm meeting them there, and we're going to discuss scheduling out the other buildings. Yep.
Okay. Any questions for Greg on PCB and radon? Chad, all good. Let's skip over so that you can leave if you want to. Greg, Dwight, you were going to bring up an update on electric buses. Do you have anything, or were you not?
Did a little bit of work on the electric bus. So I sent to Greg and to Laurie some information about the process for applying for the rebate. I needed to become a point of contact, which I just got an email from Laurie today. Thank you, which made me a person who's eligible to apply for the rebate. And then Greg and I are meeting tomorrow to just review it, and I asked him to get all the information about the 2010 bus, so we have that. So tomorrow we'll have a lot more information, but it appears like we're on the right track, but it needs to be completed by the 14th of February, and I think we should be able to accomplish that.
Okay.
To the application.
So with the application, what is our liability?
0. So once we'll apply, and if we get approved, we can either accept that, and if not, we can reject the rebate if we don't want to go forward. But once we have to make sure we're approved,
Right.
obviously first, and at that point, then the board will need to determine. So I've been tasked to apply, and then after that, if we apply and if we hear, then the board will need to discuss whether or not to accept
To
it.
accept it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say, do we need any type of motion to like?
Well, let's
I don't
do that
think we
just
do,
to.
but if you-
Yeah, let's just do it because we weren't sure if he's going to be able to get it together. But I think as long as there's no liability to the district, why question it? I mean, I don't think there's any reason not to. Does anybody have a problem with that? If
Lori
Got
has a
hand
hand
up,
up.
might have more.
go ahead, Laurie.
Just a question. So once you hear if you will receive the grant or not, I would assume at that point you need to do a bid process if you decide you want to go forward. Or is the company that has been supplying them, Greg probably remembers the name, I don't remember the name, are they on the state bid list? That's all. I'm just wondering what the next step would be because.
Yeah, there'd have to be a certified supplier to buy from, and it has to meet all the qualifications of the bus that you're purchasing. And then there are different ranges of the amount of money that you'll receive based on everything I've read and the size of our district and the location. And we're considered a rural area that we would be eligible for the maximum, which would include the bus and the infrastructure. But those are some of the questions. We'll need to know whether or not we receive all of that before we can move forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you able to sign in or you haven't tried?
I wasn't not today.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. Okay.
Bad day.
Bad day.
So maybe what we could do is make.
Highland Electric. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd throw it out there.
Okay,
I was
thanks.
going to say I can't imagine there's like several companies out there building them.
You'd
So
be surprised.
okay. So I think, can we make a motion that allows Bob and Dwight to sign on our behalf? Because it's on, I don't know if sometimes they require the superintendent.
Right.
So that way we get both sides covered if it can just be a board member. And if not, Bob, you don't mind signing your life away, do you? So would somebody like to make that motion?
I would love.
So moved.
Okay.
Okay, well, you want to second it?
I would love to second that.
Okay, Meredith, did you get what the motion was?
No.
Okay, so there's a motion to allow Bob as the superintendent and Dwight as a board member to sign an application to apply for a grant for an electric school bus. Electric school bus.
Doesn't even sound good.
Well, no, I was gonna say, wasn't that a song or something? Wasn't that like on one
Wheels
of
of the
the?
bus.
No, the electric slide.
Oh.
The
Are you
wheels
thinking of the electric slide?
No, there was like one
It's
of the
electric.
hit shows had the electric. Anyways, so
The
it's
magic school bus.
Or the
Magic
electric. Yeah,
Magic School Bus.
That's it. Now we're doing
Magic
ourselves.
Bus.
Now we're
That's
doing
the
ourselves.
Who.
it's magic school bus.
I'm sorry, Meredith. So, and Laura made the motion. Kate seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chad, you good? Okay, it looks like an aye.
I read it. Yeah.
You read? Did Dwight read your lips?
Read your lips.
Okay.
Sorry, aye.
Thank you. So it appears to be a unanimous decision in the affirmative,
Wish us
and
luck.
it is. Good luck. So I think, Laura, the only other thing I'm going to hit while you're here, if you want, is approve current financials, and we have 2 pay orders to approve.
Would you like a motion for that? I would love to make a motion to approve pay warrant number 26 for the amounts of $2,300.45 in check or credit cards, and then $598,839.74 in checks.
Do we have a second to that motion?
I second that.
Mike seconds it. My only comment, Lori, is if we just held this one pay warrant, we could pay for the roof. Can't we do that?
You
Isn't that
sure
what gov-
can.
We might get some phone calls.
Isn't that what
You
government
might
does?
go to collections though.
Right, yeah, right.
Well, I thought that's what the government did. They just didn't pay certain bills, so they had extra money
That's
to do other
right.
things.
Then we have to approve the debt.
All those in favor say aye.
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 It appears to be a unanimous decision in the affirmative. It is. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Greg. I'm
Good night,
gonna
everyone.
I'm gonna
Good night.
skip over to policy
Night.
update because I think Kate, there's no policy, right?
It's a work in progress.
Okay. So
So,
that'll still be there. So Chad, website update. So I didn't understand the last email. Maybe somebody else does.
Insofar as the domain name,
Yeah, or how it moves, or I don't. Again, I don't even understand it. So go ahead. Buddy.
yeah, that back-end lingo, it's not going to change anything. Just RVUSD.net will become the official domain. So, you know, really, you know, for us, it's nothing to worry about. It was more, you know, mechanical in the functioning, you know, for the back end. So as long as IT really understands that, it won't change much. So I think we're really just looking for each building to find some time to schedule, you know, the appropriate training so that they have a good handle on managing the daily fluctuations, you know, in the website, you know, to add events, to update pictures, you know, the minor moldable elements that, you know, are really expected for each building to take care of.
Okay, so is there any questions? But we are live now with everything.
Yeah, yep, we are. So you can check out each of the websites. They are updated with the Edgeworks platform. So again, you know, just it's housekeeping as we go along. You know, we built the house, we painted the walls, and now we just got to decorate and you know, change from time to time to keep the aesthetic live.
Cool.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's been what, 3 years? Maybe 4,
it passed in
Well, it's been around for a while.
2021.
21. So it's 3.
3 years. Yep. That's
Cool.
pretty good.
Not bad.
No, I mean it's a pretty major change. I mean, it hasn't been updated, right?
Definitely.
Cool. Thank you, Chad, for all your work on that. Mark, if you're listening in, like you do sometimes after it's over, you know, thank you for your pushing that through too, and to all the people that worked hard on that, staff and administration, and Matt Martin and his
right.
group,
And Derek.
And the voters.
And the
the
Yes.
voters.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Laura.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there any other old business? Going once, going twice. New business. So my question was kind of with a little bit with the old business for our 2 administrators in the buildings. Have you heard any comments about the website? Has anybody noticed it? Has anybody said to you anything?
Yeah, go ahead, Tracy. You go first.
At Dover, we were just making sure all of the glitches were out and, you know, there was no gobbledygook on any of the pages before we sent it out to parents.
So has it
And
gone?
Laurie's been pretty diligent about checking things, and Derek's checking off his list, and then we'll put it in our newsletter.
Okay.
And speaking of newsletters, you write a very nice newsletter. I really appreciate you sending that out to the board members that don't have students. So that works out really well. Donna, you anything from?
Sure. Yes. As well, we will be sending that communication through the newsletter so that the parents know that we are up live with the new website.
Okay.
We have a lot of decorating still to do, though. We really need to upload new pictures and a couple of other key items just to kind of update because it's older information, so we just haven't had the opportunity to do it yet.
Okay. Bob, so you don't have to spend the rest of the night here. Let's jump over to superintendents. Do you have anything new for us or any updates or?
No, I mean, you'll get the new cabinet report. I'm hoping to send out tomorrow for the month. I did have an all-VSA meeting last week, and we did hear from a couple of the reps, including Rep Kornheiser, who had written that letter that had gone out urging boards what to do and what not to do. They had laid out a kind of a nightmare scenario, I think, of 3 different. This is all about Act 127. Sorry, let me clarify that. A couple different scenarios on how it could play out as they were hearing back from budgets. But in the end, it sounded like what they were going to try to do, and Laura may know more about this because this was last Thursday, that they were going to try to figure out a way midstream to correct and to remove the cap from the legislation and do something rapidly. Also providing boards who have already adopted the opportunity to rescind their budgets and resubmit with new numbers given the loss of the cap. That was all sort of hypothetical. They were just sort of talking out loud about ideas that they'd had. I can tell you that there weren't a lot of superintendents in the room that seemed super happy about that concept, but certainly the other concept of having other levers to control tax rates be dramatically changing. You know, having voters pass a budget thinking X and then getting their tax bill and seeing Y was also pretty concerning. So they did say with very little ambiguity that the yield is absolutely going to be moving. And our guess is that that's not going to be in a way that's going to be beneficial to tax rates, as they'll need to levy it to create more money into the ed fund. So it was kind of a gloom and doom the VSA meeting, but that's what we spent most of the time talking about was 127.
So are there any other questions, issues, comments for the superintendent before we let him go? Okay, one real quick thing, Bob. I sent to Susan the evaluation. Do you know if she sent? Did you guys get the superintendent evaluation? Okay,
I didn't
Kate
see
did.
it.
Okay, I sent it out and asked. So what we're gonna do is at the next meeting, Bob, we're gonna add a executive session to do this to evaluate the superintendent. So can you just make sure she got it to everybody? I know Kate was on the original email, I think, that when I got it. So Mike, did you see it in there?
Yeah, is that what we discussed?
You saw
yeah,
it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I must be on it too. I'm sure I got it.
So if what we're doing is we're asking each board member to look through it. There's some stuff you may not know. Written comments are very valuable to the superintendent in the process. So, if you can think anything, and at the next meeting, we'll take half an hour, 45 minutes, and we'll go through each line, and you guys will decide what we want to do, and then I'll go submit it online electronically, or Kate may do it.
Okay.
And then they all go to Allison in Stratton because she's very technologically adept, and then she will put them together, and she spits out a nice little report. Then we'll approve that report at the executive, at a Wyndham Central meeting, and then the officers get to go meet with Bob, and Bob tries to sweeten us out with lunch and nice dinners and stuff, and then, we review his evaluation. Tell him where's good and where's bad. And remember, the evaluation isn't we're not evaluating to point fingers, we're evaluating so that Bob understands what we feel he's doing well, what he feels where there's maybe something lacking, or maybe some more explanation or some more needs. And then Bob will also do a self-evaluation, as will the administrators in the buildings and the cabinet level positions, or the certified people in his office, including Laurie. Laurie, special ed, the curriculum coordinator. I forget who else in central office, but So
thank you for that. Please give me some honest feedback. Rich, one other related note before you kick me out.
We're not kicking you out.
Well, I know, but I'm happy to go watch my kid play basketball. Laurie was messaging me during this meeting when she saw the 26th as the proposed next meeting on the agenda. I know you and I talked about that shifting due to the holiday and the vacation week. She wanted to make sure you knew that she was on vacation the week of the 26th and would not be available for a meeting. So if you're trying to debate between the legacy of George Washington and having Laurie present, you might want to consider, you might want Laurie present.
Well, it's not just the legacy of George Washington. The administrators are gone. People with students in school still will sometimes be gone.
But if you're going to be looking at budget stuff, just know she will not be available.
I don't think we're in bad shape with budget. I think we can push the budget through.
That's true.
And I actually think, if I remember the timeline, and I couldn't find it this weekend, Andy said we could approve it our first meeting in March.
Mm. Yep, you have time in March as well. Yep.
So I think we'll be okay.
Okay. Just wanted to leave you with that before I left, if you wanted to make any adjustments. But
so let's hit that real quick. Is everybody? Tracy, are you and Donna here on the 26th? We're back in school. I think it's an in-service day, is it? No, it's not.
No, the in-service days are
The
next week.
Okay. And Bob, you're around for the 26th if we do it, correct?
Yeah, either one worked for me. Just wanted to make sure you guys knew the full spectrum.
Okay. Is everybody on the board okay with the 26th?
Yeah.
You're good, Mike?
Yep.
Chad's good. Laura, you good?
I'm good.
Yes.
Okay. Then let's shoot for the 26th, and what I'll try to do is talk to Laurie the week before, and we'll try to make sure we're all set with budget stuff. Okay. Thank you, Bob.
At Dover.
Yeah, it'll be at Dover. It'll be another meeting after a meeting again, but it's with the holidays and stuff. And then if we don't have it on Mondays, Laura's, it's harder for her to make it. Go ahead.
Just tagging off of Bob's comments about the meeting with the representatives. I definitely do think that you are going to see the legislature take some action. I think there's a desire to try and see if can be narrowed so that they don't be districts that are losing pupil weights. I don't know that they're going to figure that out. And I do think they're trying to move it as soon as possible, given how late it is in the process. So that's about all I know, but I would expect the chairs to be moved around.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to be. That's why, again, we always try to put our budget off. Oh, she's still there. So anyways, we were starting on principals. Tracy, you're the guest tonight. Anything for principals?
Yes, I got a letter today.
No.
You want me to read it?
Sure.
Sounds good.
It says, Dear Ms. Gamache and school board members, I'm writing to let you know that at the end of the school year, July 1, 2024, I will be retiring. I have had a wonderful and great time here at Dover School. I've met many new people and learned many new things, but it's time for me to move on and spend time with my grandchildren and family. I will miss each and every one of you, and thank you for the last 18 and a half years. Sincerely, Helen Stibe.
Okay, so will you talk with Greg and just see how we backfill that and what we need to do?
Yeah, I already have.
Okay, so maybe you can give us a report at the next meeting?
Sure.
Okay. So again, we always accept resignations and retirements with regret, but I understand where she's coming from. She's been through a lot, so I wish her the best in her future with her grandchildren.
Yeah, and she is happy to fill in the summer should we need any help, is what she said.
Okay. Be really nice if she filled in driving school bus.
That's right.
That's going to be a hard pass.
The electric bus, maybe.
She would never drive the electric bus.
Just so you know, Mikey said that he would really like to get his school bus license because he would love to drive that electric bus.
Nice and quiet. Hear everything he says.
Oh, Mike!
I don't want to hear what the kids are saying.
You need that engine to muffle them out.
Tracy, you have anything else for us?
No, I just wanted to, I did talk with a few parents and we're considering, I put it in my report, but we're considering doing like a proper pickup and drop off lane so that parents are not getting out of their cars, because we've had a couple of close calls in the parking lot. And it's particularly hard in the wintertime with snowbanks and whatnot. So we are, I've done some research. I've talked with Greg, talked with a couple of parents, and we will probably be moving to a proper drop-off pickup lane at the sidewalk of the building soon so that kiddos can stay safe.
Just so you know, we used to do that, and there was a lot of issues with that too, like when the parents' car caught on fire and almost set the school on fire. So just, before you do anything major, just look at the history a little bit. Because we actually, as a school board, we actually wound up going outside and explaining the new lanes and how things worked a little different. And there was a lot of changes made because, in the old days, you had the parking where the basketball court was, and that was it. Because where the parking is out front now was the septic system. And so we couldn't use it until after we went on sewer up there. So that it made some changes, and they originally had all the staff parking out in front of the building, and then had the pick up and drop off. And then, like I said, a parent's car caught on fire, and it really made some people very nervous. So, there is some other considerations. So I would definitely have the transportation committee look at that too, because of where you're going to roll the school bus in and out, and what happens if there is a problem.
Will do.
Okay. Good luck. That'll be fun. Comes up every 15 to 20 years, so this will be your one last time maybe, or you may have to do it once more. Are you all set then, Tracy, other than that? Okay. Donna, your turn.
Sure. So I'd like to highlight in our Safe and Healthy Schools part of my report, the River Valley's Supervisory Union Food Service. We've been working with Shane Holland, who's been very instrumental in really looking at our system here for breakfast and lunch, and has given us quite a bit of feedback. And we've been responding with that feedback. With any change, it's difficult to change some things, but I think she's done a wonderful job working collaboratively with us and partnering so that we can give and provide a really healthy lunch and breakfast. So Greg also has been an integral part on this collaboration, as well as Donna Albin. So it's been, we had a meeting together the other day, and it was, it's a good beginning to a great, future of good food. So I'm really excited about that partnership. Also, I do have an update on our pre-K playground proposal. We had a prior proposal that was really a little too expensive, I think. We really wanted to look financially responsible. And we met twice with Ryan, who gave us the second proposal here, and I wanted to just kind of share that with you. I don't know if you want to hear it now. I can give you the paperwork to look over, but it is a sale item, and sale items tend to go fast, and I just didn't know if you wanted me to give the proposal. I didn't get it on the agenda today to talk about it, but I do have that piece as well.
So an expenditure like that is something we really shouldn't approve without having it warned so people can come in.
Absolutely, I totally understand.
Yeah. Did we approve money for? No, we approved for the other for the older kids' playground. We just weren't aware that it didn't suffice for the younger
Did
students.
we put money into the budget for this?
thought we
next
were
year?
We're going to be using capital funds.
Capital.
That
Okay.
Laurie had mentioned that we have.
Well, why don't you do this? Why don't you send it out to everybody?
Okay.
Do you think you can wait till the next meeting?
I will reach out and find out.
Okay. If not, we could do a special meeting.
Okay.
If it looks like it's a really good deal, but be prepared just to, show us how good a deal it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what about Dover? Is this not?
Right. Tracy, do you want to update on your pre-K playground?
Yeah, the update is that we need a roof more than we need a playground right now.
The kids are playing on the roof?
Do you have the slide that comes off the roof into the parking lot so the kids can get picked up?
Yeah. First they dodge
I
the
think
cars
ours
and run
is where it's Laurie has worked it in to the budget to buy pieces of it for the next few years, and I know that we were thinking about it for a capital expense, but then our roof is really super important, so I don't know where that stands.
It's all important.
Yeah.
You're right, it is all important, and I don't know enough about how it works. I've been talking with Greg and Laurie, so I will keep you posted.
Well, the only question I was having is, if they got a really good deal, could we get a better deal if we buy two?
A twofer?
Yeah, well,
You could, except my pre-K teacher is pretty adamant on the structure that she wants for her program.
They're very
Okay.
different.
All right.
And it is not the sale one, I'm sorry. But it is not super expensive.
what, the sale one or the one you want?
The one that Lindsay wants.
Cool. Yeah, why don't you put that together and, and send it out to everybody?
Sure.
And then pardon?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I think we discussed it, but I think what happened was Tracy was a little further ahead, and Donna was a little behind, so she wanted to still meet with with her preschool person and some parents and the staff, and then she was going to come back to us. So this is her coming back to us. And again, from our training, you don't really want to. You don't want to like to make a motion to say, Donna, thank you for cookies or something. That's okay,
No,
but you don't want to expend money, and especially large amounts of money unless you've had that warned, so that people may come to the meeting if they see an agenda item, spend $10,000 or $20,000 on a playground, because they may come in and say, well, you need a roof. Why are we spending money on a playground? Or we need an electric bus. Why are you spending money on a playground? So
You'll still need to put a fence around that playground, right?
No.
No?
Because we already have the fencing.
Oh.
That's good news.
There's a nice cost cut.
Yes, that is a good.
well, that saves some money too.
Wicked, the fence is a big part of the Dover's budget.
Just want to see where it's budgeted, but
Okay, so we will do that.
Sure.
It's not because I think the playground was the
the
big playground was
one
in the budget,
That one was.
but then it didn't include stuff for the younger students.
Okay. Yep, that's right. All right.
Is everybody okay with that then? If we do that, and then Donna, just find out what the timeline is, and if it's, if it's a substantial savings, we may want to try to have a special meeting about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the last thing I wanted to highlight, Dover and Wardsboro will be having a sledding event this Friday at Stratton Rec Center at 5:30. You can drop in anytime, and I thank the Wardsboro School Club for getting that together. So it will be a fun event for both schools.
I saw that. I saw that in Tracy's newsletter, I think. Was that in your
time.
newsletter, Tracy? Yeah. I thought that was really great that the two school clubs are working together or doing something to include everybody.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. That's kudos to everybody.
Yep.
You all set?
All set.
Any questions for either one of the administrators? They're going to be really sad because we're at the end of the page. All we got left now is to approve the January 29th, 2024 minutes. Anybody like to? Is there any problems with that? If not, there's no corrections.
So
additions?
moved.
Well, we're just going to do it by unanimous consent.
Okay, great.
So by unanimous consent, hearing no dissension, the minutes of the January 29th, 2024 meetings are approved. Good job, Meredith. Thank you. And then correspondence, I think, was covered under Tracy's report. I think that's all we had. So the next meeting is February 26th, 6 p.m. in Dover. Unless we need something special for the bus or for this playground thing.
Yep.
And then Laura, can you do one favor for me?
Sure.
Can you find out where that bill is about inter-SU movement of students? How we can get that bill pulled off the wall and get somebody to look at it?
So they took testimony on it last year. I would say that the best chance is to write a letter to the chair of the committee. I think it's going to be difficult to get it pulled off and acted on. I'd also note that the House and Senate are at pretty significant odds. We do have Senator Hashim on the Senate Economic Development Committee. They, of course, or the Senate Education Committee, they, of course, don't have the bill. But that's, I would say the odds are not great. It did get a hearing last year. And best chances are writing letters to the chairs of the committee and being in touch with Senator Hush.
What's the bill number again? Do you remember? She's gone.
Yeah, she's gone.
No, she got.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I guess we're looking for that.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn at 7:33 p.m.
Good work.
Second.
Second.
Dwight seconds.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Laura's already left, so she must be an aye too.
Yeah,
So-
that's right.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you at the end of February.